Welcome to the Sales Influence Podcast, where we talk about finding the why in how people buy. I'm your host, Victor Antonio. Thank you for joining me. Thank you, as always, for lending me those wonderful ears. Today, we continue the virtual engagement saga. Today's question is, how do you hold and keep people's attention during a virtual conversation? I am here to answer that question. First, a couple of data points. Did you know that your brain size is about 2% of your body weight? Yes, your brain size is about, on average, 2% of your body weight. But here's an interesting data point, that your brain consumes about 20% of your energy. Think about that. It's 2% of your body weight, but yet it consumes 20% of your energy. Now, why is this important? Because your brain is constantly just consuming energy. You ever get home, feel tired? You didn't do anything physical, but yet you feel tired. That's because your engine, your brain was running all day and you feel tired. Now, point number 2, think about a computer for a second. Think about a computer for a second. When you don't use the computer, it tends to what? Fall asleep. And how do you wake the computer up? You wiggle the pad or you wiggle the mouse, right? Now, how does this tie into engagement? Well, think about your brain. When your brain is listening to something that is not important, has no impact or relevance to the other person's brain is like that computer. It's going to go to sleep. Now, not figuratively, or literally, rather, it's going to go to sleep in the sense that it's going to start doing something else. It reallocates its resources, its energy to something else. That's why people start playing with their phones, maybe start reading something, because what you're saying is not that compelling. So what we have to do, much like keeping a computer awake, we have to wiggle the pad, wiggle the mouse. What we have to do is wiggle people's brains. Man, that should have been the title for this podcast. Wiggle people's brains. Now, how do you wiggle a person's brain? You insert what are known as pattern interrupts. Now, a pattern interrupt is something that you're talking, and then you do something different. Pattern interrupt. And what that does, much like a computer, when you move the mouse, the computer wakes up. When you insert a pattern interrupt, it's almost the same thing for a brain. When you insert a pattern interrupt, it's like the brain just goes, what's that? And it wakes up and begins to pay attention again. Now, here's a nice rule, a good rule to follow. Try to insert in your presentation, every 2 or 3 minutes, I'll just say 3 minutes, a pattern interrupt. Try to insert a pattern interrupt every 3 minutes. Now, some people do it every 5 minutes, but 3 minutes is a good number, especially if the meetings are getting shorter, which they are today through virtual conferences, right? So what is a pattern interrupt that you should insert every 3 minutes or 5? Well, maybe you want to tell a story. Now, I'm not talking about a long story, just a quick story, right? Or how about this? This is a good pattern interrupt. Ask the person or the group a question. When you do this, that, again, makes them alert. Now, one of the things I like doing is if I got a gallery of people, I call one person. I'll just say, Bill, let me ask you a question. Now, when I ask Bill the question, what is everybody else thinking? 1, what is Bill going to answer? Number 2, will I be next? So that keeps people in the game. Sometimes you want, again, add some levity. Now, I like to use the word levity as opposed to humor or a joke. Jokes, you want to kind of stay away from jokes. You can try to insert some humor, but I just say levity is always safest. Levity is like the safest level. You just try to kind of lighten the mood a little bit. You can add some humor, that's the next level, but I usually avoid jokes. Now, again, call people by name, ask direct questions, and then be specific. Now, there's software products out there, little applications that you can use to actually ask people quizzes. Actually do a quiz, or maybe even take a poll. Or how about this? This is an easy one, screen sharing. You're talking, then all of a sudden say, let me share my screen. I want to show you something. Or maybe you have a small little whiteboard, right? You can highlight a whiteboard and just start writing on the whiteboard. Or if you're using meeting planners like Zoom, they actually have whiteboard applications that you can actually share with the audience. Another good pattern interrupt is to insert a picture. Say to the audience, like to show you this picture. Show them a picture. Or One of my favorites, on top of a picture, is a video clip. That really breaks up a presentation. So keep in mind, in order for you to hold people's attention, keep them in the virtual game, create that virtual engagement, you have to insert a pattern interrupt every 3, some would say 5 minutes, to keep them mentally hanging in there with you and listening to what you're saying. So as you're thinking about your next virtual meeting, plan it out. Every 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, what do I want to do as a pattern interrupt? Do I want to ask a question? Do I want to show an example? Do I want to tell a story? Do I want to screen share? Do I want to show a picture? Do I want to show a video? You get the idea. Insert these pattern interrupts and you will hold their attention throughout the meeting, and hopefully by the time you get to the end, they'll do what you want them to do. In other words, they're going to listen to you, they're going to learn from you, and then you're going to have a call to action, and bam, hopefully they'll follow through on that commitment. And that is it for this Sales Influence podcast. Let me know what you think. Leave me some feedback on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Pandora, Spotify, wherever you can find me. Leave me some feedback. I'd greatly appreciate it. Also, if you haven't checked out my sales training programs online, check out the Sales Velocity Academy. If you want to learn how to sell more faster, go to salesvelocityacademy.com. Lastly, I want to thank you for listening. This is Victor Antonio, always reminding you, selling ain't hard when you know how. Take care.
Hi, I'm Victor Antonio. I'm an author, sales trainer, and keynote speaker. I'm often asked, what makes a great speaker? Is it someone who delivers real content that the audience can use? Is it someone who engages the audience so they're part of the learning experience? Or is it someone who can motivate an audience to push them beyond their comfort zone and discover new abilities? The answer is yes. But the most important thing to remember is that I'm not there to look good. I'm there to make my client look good. Simply put, it's never about me, and it's always about them.